A young black boy warned a billionaire, "Don't board that plane, someone has sabotaged the system." What the billionaire discovered next not only saved his life, but also changed the boy's future forever. Marcus, a 12-year-old boy, lived in a crowded and deteriorating shelter near the city's airport, sharing a tiny, dimly lit room with his parents. The shelter was more than just a place to sleep. It was a world filled with the echoes of hardship. The walls were peeling, covered in old posters and newspaper clippings that barely masked the cracks. The hallways were constantly noisy, with children crying, adults arguing over food rations, and the ever-present hum of a broken radio playing static-filled news reports. Despite the struggle that surrounded him, Marcus found a strange kind of solace in one thing: the airport nearby. It wasn't just a busy hub of travelers coming and going. It was a glimpse into a world of possibilities. From his shelter's rooftop, he would perch himself on the rusted metal railing, eyes glued to the sky as massive planes roared overhead. Each takeoff sent a gust of wind strong enough to ruffle his curly hair, and each landing felt like a moment of magic, a connection between earth and sky. To Marcus, those planes weren't just machines. They were symbols of escape, freedom, and dreams too big for the small space he called home. Unlike the other kids in the shelter who spent their afternoons playing with makeshift toys or chasing stray dogs in the alley, Marcus was different. He wasn't content with being stuck in his reality. He wanted more. He wanted to be up there, in the cockpit, wearing the crisp uniform of a pilot, with a confident voice announcing to passengers that they were about to soar thousands of feet above the ground. But when he shared this dream with his parents, they would sigh, exchanging worried glances. "Marcus, we don't come from a world where boys like you become pilots," his father would say, his voice heavy with the weight of unfulfilled dreams. His mother, though softer in her approach, would still warn him, "It's okay to dream, baby, but don't let it hurt when reality catches up." But Marcus wasn't one to accept limitations. Every plane he saw fueled his determination. Every pilot he imagined inspired him. He didn't care how impossible it seemed. He knew deep inside that he was meant for something greater. One particularly warm afternoon, Marcus got an opportunity that would change everything. A local office near the private jet terminal needed a part-time cleaner, and his mother, eager to make some extra money for the family, arranged for him to take the job. It wasn't glamorous. He was expected to mop floors, empty trash bins, and wipe down desks. But to Marcus, it was something much bigger. It meant being closer to the planes, closer to the world he wanted to be a part of. The moment he stepped into the office, he was mesmerized. It was nothing like the shelter. Here, everything was sleek and polished. The air smelled of coffee and fresh paper, and professionals walked briskly in suits, their shoes clicking against the glossy tiles. And then there was the view. Through the large glass windows, he could see the private jets parked neatly on the tarmac, their exteriors shining in the sun. It was breathtaking. As he worked, he found himself drawn to the window more and more, pausing to watch as ground crews prepared jets for takeoff. He admired the pilots in their uniforms, carrying themselves with an air of confidence that Marcus envied. He imagined himself in their shoes, giving commands, checking controls, and steering a powerful aircraft into the sky. But his fascination was interrupted by a sharp voice behind him. "Marcus, this isn't a sightseeing job," barked the office manager, an older woman with stern eyes. "You're here to clean, not to stare." Embarrassed, Marcus quickly turned back to his work, but his mind remained on the planes outside. The next day, he returned, eager for another glimpse at the aircraft. As he swept the floors, his eyes darted to the tarmac, where a sleek black private jet had just arrived. Something about it caught his attention. It wasn't just any jet. It was the kind that billionaires owned, the kind that looked like it belonged in a movie. As he watched, something unusual happened. Two men, dressed in dark uniforms that didn't match the usual airport staff, approached the plane from the far side. They moved cautiously, checking their surroundings before slipping under the aircraft. Marcus squinted. At first he thought they were maintenance workers, but something about them felt off. Their movements were too hurried, too calculated, as if they were trying to go unnoticed. Marcus crept closer to the window, heart pounding as he watched them open a small panel beneath the jet. He could barely make out what they were doing, but he saw them pull at wires, disconnect something, then hurriedly close the panel again. One of the men looked at his watch before exchanging a nod with the other. Then, just as quickly as they had appeared, they vanished, slipping away through a side gate before security could notice them. Marcus felt his stomach twist with unease. That wasn't normal. He had spent enough time watching the crews work on planes to know that this wasn't part of a routine check. Something was very wrong. And then, his fear turned into full-blown panic as he saw a convoy approaching the jet. A tall man in a navy blue suit, surrounded by security and assistants, walked toward the aircraft. Even from a distance, Marcus could tell he was important, maybe even famous, and he was about to board a plane that had just been tampered with. Marcus didn't hesitate. Without thinking, he dropped his mop and bolted out of the office, pushing past startled employees as he ran toward the tarmac. He waved his arms wildly, shouting at the top of his lungs. "Stop! Don't board that plane! Please! Someone messed with the system!" Security guards rushed toward him, confusion and suspicion on their faces. A few staff members tried to grab him, but Marcus dodged them, his heart hammering in his chest. The billionaire, who had been about to climb the steps into his jet, paused, turning at the commotion. His eyes met Marcus's, and for a split second, there was an unspoken understanding. The boy wasn't just causing a scene, he was terrified. One of the security men reached for Marcus's arm, but before they could pull him away, the billionaire raised his hand. "Wait," he commanded, his voice calm but firm. He stepped down from the stairs and walked toward Marcus. "What did you say, kid?" Marcus gulped, trying to catch his breath. He pointed at the jet. "I saw them," he panted. "Two guys. They messed with the plane. Underneath. They did something to the system. I swear, I saw them." The billionaire studied Marcus for a long moment. Then, without another word, he turned to his security team. "Get maintenance to check the jet. Now." As the engineers rushed in to inspect the aircraft, Marcus stood frozen, hoping, praying that he was right. Moments later, the lead technician's face paled as he discovered what Marcus had seen. The flight system had been tampered with. If the plane had taken off, it would have lost control mid-air. The billionaire exhaled, turning back to Marcus. "You just saved my life, kid." And in that moment, Marcus's life changed forever.